The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
Good morning, Gene Slade here with Lead Ninja and the Blackbelt Sales Podcast. I've got my co-host, Don Johnson, in the booth with me this morning. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Gene. It's exciting. Yeah. You've never had a sales manager tell you you got to build value. You know, the last guru that came into your company said, build value, right? Isn't that funny?
If you have had your sales manager tell you the reason that you're not making sales, or the reason your closing ratio is what it is, or the reason that only so many people are buying from you is because you don't know how to build value good enough, that you need to learn how to build value.
Build more.
Put value down in the comments, all right? Because Don and I are on the other end of the spectrum on this. We do not focus a bunch of time on building value, okay? You guys are out there selling products, and we're selling a feeling and an emotion, right?
Solution.
So, yeah, well, we're selling a problem first and foremost.
Yes.
And then a tiny bit of it is providing a solution, right? But let's talk about why building value is overrated, and why, if that's what you're focused on in your sales presentation, you are probably turning people off. So, Don, if I'm trying to build value, especially before I get any sort of objection, why is that a problem? How does that make you feel as a client? If you put yourself in the client's position and somebody comes in and they just keep trying to build this value, how does that make you feel about them?
Yeah, it makes you feel and sounds like it's all about me. The technician, the comfort advisor, the salesman in the home. You feel very salesy with that. You feel like you're kind of just tooting your own horn, or your company. You're like, well, I never talk about myself. I just always talk about it comes across the same. It's a very fine line of building value and then arrogance. And It's not very fun to think, I want to do business with this company. They're arrogant. That never happens. So it's a very
I want the
fine
experience
line.
to be about me.
Yes.
As the client.
Exactly. It's all about the client coming to the conclusion that y'all are more valuable than others. I like that phrase more than build value, right? But the client coming to their own conclusion that your company is more valuable to them.
Or
right? Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care about them statement. It fits 100%. Right in the same thing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And when we're talking about not even just difference in pricing from one contractor to another, or a competitive situation, maybe we're talking about you're out on a job and there is no surge protection, and you know that that's leaving them naked and exposed to massive liability, right? Having to potentially, in this day and age, spend $25,000 on a new system. Right. And I want to talk about that surge protection. I need to get the client to come to the conclusion that not having surge protection is a problem, right? They've got to come to that conclusion, and they're not going to do it by you trying to sell them surge protection.
Right.
They're going to do it by you selling a problem and the things that can happen, and the maybe almost even impending event that is coming because they're unprotected.
Absolutely. Impending events, a good phrase there. We haven't spoke about it in a while, but value often means to me, you're trying to move them to pleasure, right? Value, here's the good stuff, and here's us, here's good. But more people are motivated to move away from pain than they ever will be to move towards pleasure. And you go,
Yep.
oh, but we're in the comfort business. We're comfort advisors and everything else. I get all that terminology if you're in HVAC, but the reality of it is that a client you can't stand in a client's way and stop them once it becomes their decision to move away from pain, right? So
Yep.
much easier to handle it. We get a lot of lead ninja certified guys that will say, I just get all the layups. You didn't really get all the layups. You created that sense of urgency, that impending event. I love that way you said that. That created that you couldn't stand in their way. You had to basically sell to them or write up the order because they weren't going to have it otherwise because the pain was such intensity. That's part of that situation is they have to come to their own conclusion is really more important than ever building value.
You know, I want to ask the audience, are any of you dealing with, please respond in the comments and as quickly as you can for me. Do any of you ever deal with a challenge with there not being a sense of urgency? Maybe it's even right now, this time of year. There's maybe not as many calls as you would like to have. People are not having their systems work as hard. They're not breaking down as much. And maybe even customers have problems, but they're like, I'm at the tail end of the air conditioning season. If you're in the air conditioning, and it just doesn't seem like there's any sense of urgency. Are you seeing any of that out there? Put urgency down in the comments for me if you're seeing any of that. When Don's talking about an impending events, I learned from Zig Ziglar, were one of the things that help to increase a sense of urgency. If you don't know who Zig Ziglar is, you're younger than me, okay? Probably the best motivational speaker and one of the best salespeople that has ever walked the face of the earth. But he used to talk about an impending event. Now, what is an impending event? Okay, question for you. If you've got a fan motor that's about to go out, I have one right now. It's in and out, okay? Waiting on them to come today to replace it. But if you come out on a tune-up and I've got a fan motor where it's overheated, the seal on the inside of it has popped, the grease has liquefied, the grease has come out of the motor. We know that if there's not enough, lubrication in the motor, there's more friction. Eventually, what does it do? It fails. And what is part of its job? To protect the compressor, right? So if my fan motor fails on me and my compressor keeps running, what's going to happen to my compressor? Is it going to overheat? When they overheat, isn't that when they fail? So I have an impending event here. The fan motor is going to fail. All right. They're going to have to replace it one way or another, right? The question is, would they like to take the risk of replacing the fan motor and the compressor? Another impending event that's going to potentially happen if that fan motor goes out and they're not right there to shut the system off.
Right.
So an impending event helps to create a sense of urgency with the client. And that's part of selling the problem, right? You're selling impending events, things that are going to happen or could very likely happen. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. Give me a boom in the freaking comments if that makes sense to you. And if you're going to take that with you. And by the way, if you're watching us live right now, will you please put live in the comments? That would mean a lot to me. And if you're watching on a replay, just go ahead and throw replay down there. And thank you in advance for doing that. So Don, I'm going to turn it over to you on the impending event side.
Yeah. If I can wait and deal with this problem later, isn't it just human
without
nature?
any consequence?
Without any consequences. Isn't it just human nature that that's what we would do? But so many times we talk about our clients didn't want to do anything or today, and we didn't even know what the penalty for waiting was. If we can't even explain it to ourselves what the penalty for waiting is,
come on now.
How are they going to know what the penalty for waiting? So when you walk away from a call, and I don't want you to
and
ever
you can't
walk
just
away
tell them.
Yeah.
You can't just preach at them and vomit on them.
Yeah, that seems pushy.
Oh, we lost him there for a minute. It's okay. I can take this for a minute until he gets back on. So We're talking about impending events. We're talking about a compressor possibly going out. You can't just tell them, hey, if you don't do anything, your compressor is going to go out, right? That's high pressure sales. That's scare tactic sales, right? But
Right.
we can enlighten them. We can ask them questions. And Don, we always give the surge protection presentation as an example of this. And
Right.
we start people off on this because it's really, really simple. And it teaches you how to structure your questions and get clients to come to their own conclusion that something needs to be done. All right. So this is where I would start off all my guys. If I was an HVAC or electrical, I would start them off with this conversation. So Don, I'm going to do it in reverse, and then I'll ask you to ask the questions the way that we would. So if I'm out on a job and I'm going over my findings with the customer, Don, and imagine we're standing there by a condenser, and I start saying stuff like, well, I noticed you don't have surge protection, and we get a lot of surges around here, a lot of lightning strikes, millions of them, as a matter of fact. And when we get that, we get in-home surges. And when we get in-home surges, your compressors and your motors, they can glow cherry red on the inside. And that's really not good. It reduces the lifespan of your system. It reduces the reliability of your system. It's going to cost you more on your electric bills. You could end up with fan motors that fail, compressors that fail, electronics that fail. You could have to replace your entire system because you don't have surge protection. I mean, you know what surge protection is, right? Should I put some surge protection on for you?
Yeah. Started talking at me a lot. I was trying to
Some people are
drift
probably
away.
thinking that was good.
No, yeah, I was drifting away. Sounded like you were preaching. Sounded like I
Yeah.
got called to the principal's office, and now I got to be talked to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God! So it's just I just can't wait for this to be over.
Yeah. And
that
then I
kind
do
of
that with
scenario.
10 things on my list, and you want me to leave.
And then you go back to your office and you tell your service manager, sales manager, and you said you just have to build more value. That's when
Yeah.
that will come in, right? You'll hear that.
Yeah.
You got to build more. You didn't build
Shit,
enough
I
value.
thought I said enough words. What else do
Yeah.
I got to say in order to get these people to buy stuff?
You didn't build enough value.
Oh, so I got to say afterwards, you're not going to have to worry as much about, your compressor going out. Now, look, nothing can take a direct hit, right? So that can't. But if that happens, there is an insurance policy. And oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right. And do that with 10 different parts.
Oh,
And
yeah.
by the time you get home, do you want to talk to anybody?
Well,
Come on. If you're feeling this, I want to see it in the comments. Okay.
Right.
There's got to be some booms or something dropped. If I'm preaching to your soul right now.
Well, and when you talk about the product, and again, Surge Protector, that's its name, but it's also its benefit. So this kind of can blur a little bit. But when you start talking about the insurance, you're trying to talk about the product. I don't care to have any information about
I don't want to buy
products that I don't
insurance.
feel like I don't need, right? So I've got to get them to come to their own conclusion. So if you think the insurance is what sells surge protectors, you're way off. It never really has to be mentioned. It could be a feature that they get, but it's not the reason to buy today, right? It is not the reason to buy.
So let's show them what we mean, Don. So you guys heard me just talk at the client and give them all the information and everything, and it was really boring, and they probably drifted off on me and came back right at the end when I asked them a question. Right. So rather than talk at the client, what do we mean, Don? And this is where we disagree with most sales trainers about building value. I think building value pales in comparison to this strategy that no one teaches. So Don, we're standing out at the outdoor system. You've got me at the condenser, and you're going to say?
With a confused look, kind of like, why don't you have surge protection?
I don't know.
Well, so you weren't aware we get like 800,000 cloud to ground lightning strikes in this area each year? And did you know that when that happens, that causes in-home power surges? Did you know that those in-home power surges can do permanent and irreversible damage to your compressor? Maybe even make them glow cherry red on the inside. You think that's good?
No, not at all.
What do you think that does to the the lifespan of your system?
Oh, it's got to make it shorter.
Yeah, maybe even the reliability. What do you think it does there?
It definitely reduces it.
Yeah. Have you ever had to replace a compressor before?
Yep.
Oh, you have. So is it on this system, or when did you have to do that?
Oh, about 5 years ago.
Ah, so you're aware that compressors can cost $2,000-$3,000 nowadays.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can you see now why so many of our clients just go ahead and get surge protection rather than waiting for that compressor to go out and then usually getting it? And you want me to go ahead and take care of that while I'm here today?
Now, guys, how many statements did Don make? Everything I said was a statement, yes or no. If you've been tuned in for the last 20 minutes, you saw both examples. You saw what the average person would do, probably on steroids, right? But what you've never seen is all of that stuff presented to you in the form of a question, so that, here's the question, you ready? If Don is asking me questions instead of talking at me, what can my brain not do? It can't shut off, can it? I can't ignore him, can I? And another question, is it possible that Don could control what I'm thinking through the use of his questions? And would it surprise you to know that when information is delivered in the form of a question, that it bypasses what's called the truth-false filter? That's why we have to have a conversation about using this for good instead of ever, considering using it for evil. I don't want you in my groups if you're that kind of person. But people come back later, Donna, they say, I see now why you say that, it's so important to use this for good and not evil.
Well, and the way you're talking right there is, can be manipulated. And people be like, oh, that's why you get such a bad reputation out there. Really, we did not control their mind. We controlled what they were thinking about as we're asking the questions. It's not that we subliminally send stuff in there and says, buy surge protector, right? It's just we get them to finally think about it. I kind of say with this, a good script will do nothing if the client isn't listening, right? Write
Yeah.
the best script, put it in a notepad and put it in the drawer. Nobody ever hears it. It's not going to make a sale. Well,
Nope.
take a great script that you wrote, that you get from somebody, doesn't matter. Somebody else having great success. And then you go out there and you're in the cluster and you say it, but the whole time the client isn't even listening to you.
Yeah.
They're on a trip. They're just kind of confused. I don't know. One of the first words in the first statement, what is that? What's he talking about? And oh, you're finished talking? Oh, I'm still concentrating on a word you confused me with, like sear or who knows what you're saying in your presentation.
AFUE, resin,
yeah, all of those words.
microfarads. I mean,
All of
come
those
on. When I
words.
think of microfarads, I think of two little ferrets running around in a ball, mini ones.
Little bitty ferrets.
That never made sense to me. Still doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. Yeah.
So again, you take a great script and then someone's not listening to it. It's not really going to be effective. It could still be a great script, but it wasn't being listened to. When you engage clients, when you engage people with questions, they tend to listen. If you're sitting in a classroom and the instructor, the teacher says, Gene, I'm about to call on you, boom, your whole demeanor changes. It's almost like
You
the
sit up
rest of the
straight a little
room.
bit more in the chair.
Yeah, you sit up
You're
a little bit.
focused.
The
Eyes
rest of
get
the
a little bit
room
bigger.
goes fuzzy. Only the teacher is all you see.
Yep.
It's like in a movie where the light just turned bright because, oh my God, he's about to call on me. I have to. And it's we're all, one of our greatest fears everyone has is feeling embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
That is a huge, probably the number one. We say death. We'd all probably take death over embarrassment. It's kind of hilarious when you think of that. But we're all scared of feeling embarrassed, especially in front of a crowd, right? That's why public speaking is such a, make the heart palpable, just go crazy. Doing lives, doing this stuff can often be more challenging for people. Death by 1,000 lives is
Yeah.
is that. But when you're going to be called on, you listen. And that question, did you know we have over 800,000 cloud to ground lightning strikes in this area each year?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, oh, I've got to answer that. And interesting enough, even though I ask a question, I didn't need the answer
He didn't
realistically.
wait for me to answer that question. He set his cadence inside of the question. And this is like 3.0 shit that most people are never going to see. He set his cadence inside of the question so that by the end of the question, he was into the second question. And I answered it in my head, and he didn't need me to come out and say it. And the reason this is so important is because if you're going to deliver all of your information in the form of a question, you don't want to stop after every did you know or were you aware, because it makes the conversation really, really awkward. This is
Really
a
long.
tool. Yeah, forever. It'll take forever, and it just doesn't work very well. Okay. And this is one of the things we've got. This is why we have an implementation day at the Mansion event coming up in September, the 29th through October 3rd. Third day is implementation, where we teach this kind of stuff. This is stuff you cannot get taught anywhere else. All right. No one else in the trades teaches this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's asking those questions. They can come to their own conclusion that something has to be done about this problem. I didn't even really talk about the solution. I didn't say, well, you're going to want to buy 2 surge protectors and they're $500 or whatever. You never heard that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to really talk about the solution. It's kind of implied when there's a problem. It's kind of implied that, well, I can fix it, right? I can fix it. Now, certainly when you get more complex, you're gonna go into those steps and you're gonna explain a little bit more. But you can sell a $10,000 indoor air quality system on one sentence about the product. That's it. You're like, no, that can't be done. People out there saying that's crazy. That's because you're not talking about the product. You're talking about the problem. They then now want that problem fixed. What is the solution? Our clients have us install a Breathe Easy package. And then you just talk about the benefits that they get out of that. And when you come home, that air, man, it's just clean and fresh, just hits you right in the face. It's like somehow, man, that air's cool and crisp and just goes into your lungs easier.
They will find value in those feelings.
Yes.
Right?
They will come to their conclusion that there's value in the service you provide. Because most of the time we talk about value, and this is the subject, most of the time we're talking about value in your company, and you build the value into the stuff that fixes their problem, if that makes sense. And I don't say the stuff you're selling, because we really shouldn't sell product. We sell solutions. And I like that word, but I like the way you said it better, Gene. We sell that there is a problem first. If there's no problem, then why would I care about your solution? What is the problem? What is the problem first?
Do you guys like the thought of somebody educating you? I have heard so many salespeople as I travel the country talk about, I like to educate my customers. And to me, there's a lot of ego inside of that, right? I think it's way, way better for a client to feel or become enlightened, because there's a great feeling associated with feeling like you've discovered something new and not been taught something new. I don't think anybody wants to go to... Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to go to HVAC or plumbing or electrical or solar school. Okay. So let's stop educating our clients. Let's start helping them to become enlightened. To educate someone, yes or no, is to talk at them. Yes or no. Is that what it means to you? And if so, do you want to put your clients through that? And when you're talking at somebody and basically telling them what to do or what they have to do people take kindly to being told what they have to do? Do you take kindly to that? How about you, Don? If I tell you what you need to do, what's your first gut? Like, what is instinctual in you?
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. What's instinctual to you if I tell you what you need to do?
Yeah. First is always the pushback. Yeah, you're not going to tell me what to do. Second one is when you say you can't do that, is hold my beer. Let me just prove you wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
You
it's a
want to
hold
fire
my
somebody up? You tell them what they can't do.
yeah, hold my beer. I'm going to prove you wrong. I wasn't even interested in proving you wrong, but now that you told me, that's all I am interested in is
Yeah.
proving you wrong. You know,
Yep.
so that's part of that situation. But I love when we can educate through the questions and they become enlightened. I like your word, but they come to their own conclusion that they have a problem. That's big
Yep.
part. Sell problems, don't sell product, don't sell solutions. And sometimes even in our process, we talk about establish the need for everything on the list. I don't have a better phrase for it that's simpler, but really establish there's a problem that the list fixes first, right?
Sure.
Establish that there is a problem that I happen to have some notes written down on that will solve that problem. That's
You'll
more what
you'll
that will be.
you'll know that you're starting to do it better when you can see the body language of the client beginning to show you that they are not only concerned, but then they ask you, what do we do about this? With that kind of a tone and inflection, you'll know that you're starting to get better at it when that begins to happen.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. When you're not questioning yourself about what to say next, most of us listen to a conversation and are trying to think, what am I going to say back to that? And I'm guilty here with Gene, especially to trying to jump over top of him with whatever just went in my head because I want to get it out. Well, we tend to do that with our clients as well. And we have to learn to listen instead of, I just thought of something great and out my mouth it comes. Right? I'm guilty. Sometimes it's the only way I get a word in edgewise with Gene, but that's a different story. That's
I think
probably
we
the
need
only
to
way
take
Gene
a
gets a word
poll.
in on with me.
I think we need to take a poll on that one. Who talk? I'm going to run it through the AI and see who talks more. You want to put 50 on it? Poor
Ah,
Gene. Poor Gene. I do it every day, says Brittany. That's okay. I don't really care to talk that much, but I do get fired up about these types of subjects. Outside of this, man, you have a hard time getting me to talk. When you see that client doesn't have an anti-siphon vacuum breaker and a water heater, how would we bring this up without sounding technical? Okay, so
yeah.
doesn't have an anti-siphon vacuum breaker on a water heater. Is that a expansion tank? I might need a little bit of help on that. And
And even,
actually,
yeah.
Brittany, I wouldn't even care if you shot the link over to John Stutt and we answered that question with a little bit of his input.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, until that can happen, I'm going to say, John, if I don't know what it does, then I can't share with you how we would approach that. But I would also be more than willing to jump on a private phone call with you, or like a 15-minute meeting
Mhm.
and have that discussion. So my cell phone number, if you'll text me, and this is for anybody right now, like, well, maybe
That's a
let's say
question, yeah.
three people. If you guys need some help and you need me to spend a little bit of time with you, or that would be something that you find that would help you, just go ahead and shoot me a text right now. The number's on the screen. If you're on Spotify or Apple, it's 239-848-6533. Just shoot me a text. Okay. Tell me who you are. Don't just say, hey, right? Because I don't respond to those. Just your name and where
Right.
you from and that kind of stuff.
It's got to be the question going on out there, and I had to cut in here, but everyone is probably wondering, well, what's that cost me, Gene? I know you're not cheap, and I know you don't do stuff for free. So what's that going to cost if somebody wants that link or that text message in like 20, 30 minutes of your time? What are you charging to do that?
Ordinarily, it's somewhere between 2,500 to 5,000 an hour, depending on how many sessions we're doing.
Wow.
But this one, no, I'm happy to jump on as long as my schedule will permit me. As long as I've got the time in it, I'll open up that time for him. Look, guys, a lot of things happen. Don, is it okay if I talk for a second?
Please go ahead.
A lot of things happen when you pay things forward. And a perfect example is one that you may have heard me talk about recently was a guy who wanted to come to our event and really just needed a few pointers before the event so that he could get the money together that he needed in order to do it. And there's no obligation for me to do anything like that. And frankly, I don't typically do that very often, right? But something told me that I needed to help this person. And turns out the next 2 days, he sold in 2 days what he normally would sell in 2 weeks, and was able to pull himself out of a slump. And you know what's crazy is that ended up turning into a bunch more business for us. One more seat to the mansion, one on-site deal that'll probably be worth $250,000 or more to the company. And because I was willing to give 30 minutes of my time. So I've learned over my career, the reason that we've gotten this far and only just now started to advertise is because I was willing to help people before they paid me. So that won't always be the case, because the more success we get, right, the less time a lot of times we have, and the more protective we have to be of it. Sure. But right now,
well,
be happy to help him on my dime.
Yeah, I think the story, 2 30-minute sessions spread out for a few days or whatever, resulted in much more, even if he was paying you, probably much more than even a trip to the mansion would cost for him. And that's 3 solid days of this. We've been on here for 30 minutes right now. What do you feel like you could get if you had 3 solid days with Gene, with myself, with Eric Pro, with Darren, all these other guys who are going to be at this event teaching different sessions in classes? It's huge. It's a anti-siphon backflow grid. You know, I wanted to mention, how do you bring up something? And again, I don't know that product, but why don't you have is the perfect way to get conversations started? Just a confused look on your mind with, why don't you have surge protection? Why don't you have something to prevent this backflow of your water?
Yeah.
So you weren't aware that
do you know what can happen when you don't have one, or you have a faulty one?
There you go.
Right. So you weren't aware that this happens, right? Anything that you can add to that. Did you know that this also happens as a result of not having one? And then I would go to, can you see now why when we run into this situation, our clients have us go ahead and replace this or install this instead of experiencing this, and this? And if they say yes to that, that's called a trial close. That means you can move forward. You are on the same page. There is agreement. And now you can say, and you want me to take care of it for you? So that's how we would handle that in a condensed 60-second conversation.
And really, if you take that structure, you can put any product into that structure.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. Why don't you have, and then, so you weren't aware of this problem, so you didn't know that occurs when you don't have it. Can you see now why our clients have us run into this situation, and you want me to take care of that while I'm here today? Good summary of it. I think I hit the high points. There were probably a few more questions, but certainly I think that a good topic or a good thing that he came up with. Most guys know how to talk about their products. They just struggle with how to get the conversation going.
Yep.
And then they struggle with puking the information out. So
yeah,
do 2 things.
What information to give, what information not to give.
Yeah. Why haven't you ever had this fixed before? Why don't you have this? You know, why don't you have a protection?
And Don, something else. You know, we're not so data oriented as technicians, right? And communicators. People are not split testing the stuff that they're saying to clients and keeping track of what works and what doesn't. And that's what we've done. Right. We've weeded out all the shit that doesn't work. Listen, I have lost more sales than most of you because I talked my way out of them. Right. So that's why we exist, to show people that you don't have to do that. You don't have to be worn out when you go home. You can have some words left for your significant other.
So you're really saying that this anti-siphon backflow preventer, it's not because he's not building enough value. Is that what you're telling us
No,
right
no,
there?
it's
It's not
not.
about the value.
It's
It's
got
about
nothing to do with the value. It's got everything to do with what's going to happen because they don't have that, or what impending event might be on the horizon, and what is that going to cost, and what inconvenience is it going to create, and what safety concerns might be in play, or health concerns might be in play as a result of that. And all of that gets delivered in the did you know, were you aware, would you believe, do you suppose type format. And I love that I freeze just when that was bad.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Backflow, just call it a backflow preventer.
Yeah.
I get that. That's out there a little bit more. You know, why don't you is the hardest part. Why don't you? Were you aware? You don't. Why
Yeah.
don't you? Or why haven't you? Why haven't you had a backflow preventer installed yet? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking. You
Yeah.
want them to have almost a confused,
Yeah.
unsure answer there, so that it lends itself to you just providing the information on what the problem is, not why they should buy new, why they have a problem is what we should talk about. What are
Yeah.
the problems with not having backflow preventer or surge protector or indoor air quality or a ceiling saver? It all follows the same process. And
One thing I've never really even considered, Don, it's just kind of coming into my mind right now. We are kind of selling the negative side of things, right? Because we know that people want to escape pain.
Mhm.
Never really occurred to me, though, that part of that piece is that people are much more attractive to negativity than they are to positive stuff. I mean, that ever
Well,
occur to you?
oh yeah. I mean, we talk a little bit about um, people are motivated to move towards pleasure or away from pain, right? And my belief is that away from pain is about 10 times more effective than towards the pleasure, right?
Oh, for sure.
And it depends on the generation. The older the generation, man, I walked up here. I didn't have shoes when I was a kid, and I walked, I walked to school, and the snow, both uphill both ways. Those old, it's almost like the older the generation, it's I'm, I'm not in a delayed pleasure is almost like gratification to
Yeah.
someone of that age. Now, you're talking about a 20, 25-year-old, 30-year-old family. They get a little more motivated to move towards pleasure than an older generation. But still, they will both move away from the pain of this issue. And the
Which,
issue is can be health, or the issue, certainly one of the greatest motivations is money. You spend the old Meineke commercial. You spend a little now or a lot later. Which one would you like to do?
yeah.
That's kind of the I think in that trans. I think that was the transmission commercial, not Meineke, but I think it was a transmission. Pay me now or pay me later. You got to get them to understand that a small amount today versus a huge amount later. Gene?
So Jedi Bunny, we don't allow bunnies in the class, so you do have to be a human.
Well, I was
um,
thinking you're a lead ninja,
yeah,
and now you got a
I love the
Jedi.
little sword over the
Got a Jedi
behind.
bunny. So I don't know. That one looks pretty
You
good.
know what? Maybe we could have him be a mic runner. That little bunny. That is awesome. So the Jedi bunny, I don't know your name, but that's a freaking awesome picture.
It is.
We don't have like a posted schedule online. We usually talk about that stuff. So the next event is September 29th through October 3rd. It's in Gatlinburg. You show up at 6 p.m. on the 29th of September, and you leave before 10 a.m. on October 3rd. 18,000 square foot mansion. I got 4 rooms left, almost sold out. So get your room now. There will be no additional tickets sold once the rooms are full. Okay.
Right.
You won't
So,
be able to stay outside and come in.
so it's the training, but it's also the room. You're not having to have a hotel somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're not having to go out to dinner. You're not having to work. Once you get there, everything is catered for you, if I can say that that exact word. Your room's there. You stay on site. We have dinners together. Gene brings in the caterers. Everything is included. So just to make sure that people, we do this so much and take it for granted, but maybe people don't understand what that means. It's not just the class. It's your room. It's your food.
Yeah.
It's certainly the whole experience where you can sit around with people from around the country and get their information. I think there's 50, 60 people in this class. So
There will be
this is one,
66 in this one. Somewhere between
right.
66 to 72.
And after that, isn't there another class? But it's kind of a specialty class.
Yeah,
coming up.
the next one, Jedi Bunny, is going to be December 6th through the 8th, and that is a high ticket sales class for high ticket salespeople and comfort advisors.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you sell things that are at $20,000 and above, that would be the type of class that you would want to come to get super, super effective at overcoming the price objection, along with, I want to think about it. I want to talk to my spouse. I got to get other quotes,
Right.
things like that. And that's going to be 2 days of training as opposed to the 3 in September. But you can't just buy a ticket to that one. We got to have a conversation about that because there's only certain people. You got to qualify essentially or apply for that one.
And I think of the two is if you're going the Gatlinburg class is first, if you're a service tech and you go out and they call you out for diagnostics or tune-ups or inspections or things of that nature, that's perfect for that class. And the Gatlinburg
Plumbers,
class,
electricians,
yeah,
solar, HVAC, pest control, roofing.
and the second one in December fits more of a people call and they're ready to get an estimate. So it could be a marketed lead, it could be a turnover, could be something of that nature, but you're going there with the intent of presenting something, right? Where the other, you're just going there to do an inspection, to do a tune-up, to get the process started. So they are a little different. They can, there's still some elements that go on both sides, I'll admit, but
you're welcome.
You won't, if you're going on straight estimates, as we might call it, both classes would work, but that second class is specialized for that. First class is very specialized on how to sell on a service call, plumbing call, electrical call situation, whether it's an inspection or a demand call, a problem call.
And in September as well, just so it doesn't get overlooked, or people who have purchased tickets already don't get anxiety. On the third day of that training on October 2nd, we will be splitting the training class into 2 or 3 different groups. And I'll be staying with, there will be some high ticket salespeople and comfort advisors at that event, high ticket plumbers and electricians and stuff. So I will take them and they will stay with me. And then Don will take a group. And then we've got another coach who will take a group, and they'll work on the implementation of all the stuff that the junior techs who don't necessarily sell equipment that they need to get, memorized before they get home and implemented.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's about it for today, Don.
That's exciting. Yes, 2 big classes coming on. If you need more information, put Mansion or put training in the comments on here, and then and someone will get back with you with some more of those details. And if you want to get, kind of a kickstart to the rest of the year, put your information in there and see if you can get on Gene's schedule for like a free 30-minute, 20-minute session if it's still available for him. And again, don't call him, text him. I'm the same. I'm not answering the phone calls. People, numbers I don't know, because it's used to be car insurance or home warranties and home and everything else. You just never know what you're going to get. So please text who you are, what area of the country you're in, and then get on Gene's schedule. I think you said 3 people. That would be golden if I was out there.
I definitely can take care of 3 people, so I'm sure we
Okay.
can find the room in my schedule for that. And look, if you're listening to this a month from now, don't let that deter you. Hit me on my cell. Let me know what you need, and I'll see if I can't squeeze you into my calendar. If you're on Spotify or Apple, the telephone number is 239-848-6533. One more time, 239-848-6533. I think I'm back in my radio days, dog. Oh, I used to give
It's always
telephone
fun
numbers
to get
away.
to be on here with you, Gene. It's been a lot of fun. So I think we've
You too, buddy.
given a lot of information. I don't even want to say we built a lot of value today because that was the whole conversation.
Yeah.
But man, were there some golden nuggets in there. If you
Do us
heard
do us
this,
a
go back and
favor, share
re-listen to
it.
it.
Yeah, share the stream, guys.
Mhm.
Put this into a group that has got people that you know that need it. Or I know that I want you to think about somebody who is another technician who is important to you in your life. And I want you to reach out to them and share this with them so that they can be impacted as well. Look, eventually we'll end up making money with a lot of people who listen to this, but before that happens, what normally happens is people have a doubling or a tripling of their income just by listening to us on these conversations. So once you do that, guys, look, don't just get fat and happy and go throwing that money somewhere else. Think of it as a gift. Like God gave you a gift and now you're making an extra 20 or 30K a year. Let's take that money. Let's put it back in. Let's put it back into you and watch what happens. A year and a half from now, even 6 months from now,
Right.
you may be unrecognizable to yourself.
If you only put, 20%, 30%, 50%, it would be a huge. Putting money into yourself is one of the best things that you can do. And that sounds like we're saying, give us the money. No, it's invest in yourself.
I don't care who
Training
you
is
spend it with.
training is one of those things that could be just go to the store and buy a book. Buy a book, start reading. But if you want to get there a lot quicker, Gatlinburg, September 29th through October 3rd would be my pick. And I think you said there's only 4 rooms left
Yeah.
on while we're live here. So just hit us up and let's see if we can get that. Give you some free nuggets like we did today that will then help you pay for a 3-day training class. Amazing. If training were free, would you be at Gatlinburg? I don't think anybody
Hopefully,
would pass up.
with everything, and it is free. It's better than free, right? It pays you to go,
Yeah.
right? But hopefully, Don, last lesson on the way out. We've been doing enough for everyone here to create not just a sense of urgency, but a sense of obligation. You guys can go look that one up. Maybe we'll talk about that one on Tuesday.
Yes,
Guys, have yourself a great day.
reciprocation.
Don, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ninjas, till next time. Have a great day. Go out and slay some dragons. And hey, shoot us a review, would you? That'd be amazing. Love you guys. Peace out.
Peace.